Welcome to Startup Report. My name is Joe Hamilton. On this episode, we have the mayor of Tampa, Bob Buckhorn. We did a few questions with him after a St. Pete X episode that we recorded and will be posting in the next couple of weeks. Had a few extra minutes because those questions were about 4.5 minutes. And I wanted to say a couple words about the layoffs at the Penny Hoarder. Penny Hoarder has been a much storied company in St. Pete, and an example of bootstrapping up to pretty great heights, and I think deserving of the praise that it's received. In watching Kyle Taylor, the CEO and founder, operate, the diligence with which he has grown into his role and studied, the craft of running a company, tried to think outside the box in how to position the company for the best results in the future, and just generally be hyper aware of their strategy and trajectory while at the same time maintaining really deep roots of caring for the employees of Penny Hoarder. I think that there's really nobody that's done it better. He's just a really special executive coming from where he did without having this, hardening experience of running a bunch of things before to growing into that role. And then obviously when you come into a situation where circumstances dictate that the right thing to do is to make layoffs, you see another test of character. And I think that the Penny Hoarder has stayed as true to their values as possible. So it's a very emotional time. Obviously, people will always, there's always things that aren't exactly right, whether it be notice or why was I chosen or why wasn't I chosen. And those decisions are not easy. Obviously, the most impacted in this are the people who lost their jobs, also the people who remain and wonder what the future holds for them and deal with this big change in their life and their sort of infrastructure. And of course, the management, it can be gut wrenching to go through that. But the Penny Hoarder is a great asset to our city. I mean, what they are as a company and what they offer to the world is valuable and wonderful, and who they are and what they offer to the community is valuable and wonderful. And so I would encourage everyone, and I think this is already really happening. So I don't think there's much opposition to this idea, but to really just support them and understand that this is a part of growing a company. The market as a whole, that whole space, TechCrunch and some of the other companies have had some contractions, and the space is getting tougher. I mean, our attention is getting more fragmented by the second. But as a community, I really feel like we need to have the Penny Hoarders back. I've already seen folks on LinkedIn advocating on behalf of people who are now available. So if you've got some freelance work or some positions open, certainly check them out, because anyone that's passed their litmus test is certainly going to be talented and a high quality employee. So just want to give a little bit of moral support to all involved in that situation. Keep your chins up, keep fighting the good fight, and we've got your back. Now, please enjoy a couple of questions on the state of startups in Tampa with the mayor, Bob Buckhorn. Joining me on Startup Report is the mayor of Tampa, Mr. Bob Buckhorn. Welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
From my point of view, things are good, getting better in Tampa as far as startups are concerned. How are you feeling?
It's exciting. If you think about how far we have come as a community and as a region, and how we've changed our economic DNA from being a place that was dependent on real estate like a crack addict, entertainment, tourism, to a place where the startup community, and particularly the technology sector, is really starting to come into its own. Some of those events that you just referenced are part of that critical mass and part of that energy, but it's a different environment than it was 8 years ago when I started. Most investors in Tampa specifically had been traditionally real estate investors. That was safe. That's what they knew. I mean, when you can see it and feel it and step on the dirt, you feel safe with your investment. But I think we've changed, and I think we've changed for a couple reasons. One, I think some of the disparate groups and people have come together as opposed to being very siloed, which historically they have been. I mean, Synapse was a great example. I mean, that was a huge success. It's 2 years old, potentially could rival South by Southwest at some point, which I think is their goal. And I think also the influx of young talent into our community. I mean, you'll remember 8 years ago, we were a donor city to places like Charlotte and Austin and Raleigh. It wasn't that we lacked the talent, but we lacked the venture capital. We lacked the critical mass that these folks could get together and feed off each other. And that talent was fleeing. Now we have become a magnet for that talent. And so new people, new ideas, new energy, folks who are not constricted and restricted by fighting the same old battles because they don't even know what those battles are. Government has gotten out of the way and let the tech sector kind of bloom and blossom. And so I'm excited between the health sciences and the biotech, as well as straight technology and app development, this town is, I think, really poised for something pretty special.
I think we're really aligned there. That's why we're doing what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I think what investors are realizing is, number one, there's talent here. There's ideas here. There are companies to be built here. Things like pitch lists that help them identify and weed through good versus bad and legit versus illegit, I think are great assets for us, because pitch list becomes the convener of good ideas and good projects. And folks with disposable income who used to want to go invest in real estate are now willing to look at investing in companies, understanding that they're not all going to succeed. But when you do succeed, you can succeed big. And so there's a lot of companies out here. There's a lot of young talent that are out there pitching ideas, that are looking for angel investors. They're looking for VCs. They're looking for first and second tiered investors. It's important that investors know where to come and know who's going to potentially do some of that screening for them, if you will, and give them a place where they can be connected with people who have ideas. And so that is the marriage. It's marrying the money to the entrepreneur, which helps to create the ecosystem that we're trying to drive. But it's that marriage of people who may not have contact with each other that is so critically important. And that's why events like Synapse, Pitch List, the Venture Capital Forum that was here just the other day with venture cap folks from all over the state, meeting entrepreneurs, that's so important. And we need to continue to grow that ecosystem. You know, attracting a Fortune 500 company is great for your community, but I would submit to you, it's the difference between hunting and farming. I mean, I'm happy to go hunt and pitch, Amazon or pitch JP Morgan Chase, but I'm also driven to grow our indigenous business climate and to help these young entrepreneurs be successful, whether it's using my pulpit, getting government out of the way through the regulatory process, or finding a way to be a convener of money to talent.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You bet.